Iron Man has become one of the most iconic superheroes in mainstream popular culture in the last decade, thanks largely to Robert Downey Jr.'s brilliant portrayal of the character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I'm the best.
Before 2008, nobody would have dreamed of uttering his name in the same breath as Spider-Man, Superman, and Batman, but he's right up there with them now. Throughout the years, however, a huge array of characters have donned that amazing powered armor, and not just a certain genius, billionaire, playboy, and philanthropist named Toni. In this video, we'll run you through 25 characters who have worn Iron Man's armor.
Let's take it outside.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It's the best way of keeping up to date with all of Screen Rant's great new videos. No list like this would be complete without him, so let's start off with the obvious one in the form of Tony Stark himself. Stark is Iron Man in the comics and on both the big and small screen, and he's worn all manner of amazing armors over the years, including the likes of the original Mark I armor, the Hulkbuster armor, and the Bleeding Edge armor.
Guys, stop. We gotta talk this through. It's good talk.
No, it wasn't.
Virginia Pepper Potts has worn the Iron Man armor on a number of occasions in the comics, but it wasn't until Obadiah Stone attacked her while she was working with Toni in Taipei that she got her own version of it. The Mark 1616 allowed her to take on her own super identity, Rescue. Potts also briefly wore Stark's armor in Iron Man 3. Tony Stark's bodyguard, Harold Happy Hogan, has also worn his armors on a number of occasions. Sometimes he's worn them as a public stand-in. On one occasion, he battled the Mandarin wearing it, and of course, on another occasion, he wore it as part of a team of Tony Stark's allies known as the Iron Legion, all of whom wore Iron Man suits. 4 other characters wore Iron Man armors as part of that group: Eddie March, Bethany Cabe, Mike O'Brien, and Carl Walker. March was Happy's friend and a retired former boxer. Cabe was another of Stark's bodyguards and a former lover of his. O'Brien was formerly an Iron Man foe called the Guardsman, and Walker was a former henchman of Justin Hammer's. Together, the quintet fought and defeated the gigantic robotic villain known as Ultimo. Riri Williams only first appeared as recently as 2016, but she quickly became Marvel's new Iron Man, or more specifically, Ironheart. The 15-year-old former MIT student was able to reverse engineer Tony Stark's suit and build one of her own, and ultimately took over Stark's superhero duties when he opted to take a step back from the role after Civil War II. Another character who attempted to fill the void when Tony Stark stepped down from his Iron Man role was, rather surprisingly, Victor Von Doom. The villain, otherwise known as Dr. Doom, became the infamous Iron Man, wearing armor that resembled both Iron Man's classic armor and Doom's more sinister-looking suit. Bruce Banner gets to wear the Hulkbuster armor in Avengers Infinity War, but both he and the Hulk have previously donned Iron Man's armor in the comics, and on more than one occasion. Perhaps the best example was in Iron Man's Assemble number 6, when he pulled a Trojan horse move against the Badoon, bursting out of some armor when everyone thought it was Tony Stark inside. James Rhodes, otherwise known as Rhodey, is of course Tony Stark's best friend. He has famously worn Stark's War Machine armor and used it to become the superhero known as, you guessed it, War Machine. But he has also stood in as Iron Man on a number of occasions when Stark's been unavailable.
Yes! Now this is gonna be a good story.
Norman Osborn is most well known as the Spider-Man villain, the Green Goblin, but he's always looking for a new way to pull off his evil plans. To that end, he donned an old Iron Man suit, painted it red, white, and blue, and called himself Iron Patriot. He was even able to use this persona to create a new Avengers team. Squirrel Girl is known for her uncanny ability to best Marvel's most powerful villains. Thanos, Dr. Doom, and Terrax are just some who have fallen at her hands, claws. On one occasion, she found out Galactus was heading to Earth to devour it, so she stole one of Iron Man's suits, headed into space, befriended the cosmic being, and convinced him to focus on a nearby uninhabited planet rich in nuts. In the alternate universe known as Earth 2301, Tony Stark had a twin sister. She was called Antoinette Stark, Toni with an I for short, and she wore her brother's armor when he went into hiding, adopting the name Iron Maiden. In another alternate universe known as Earth 3490, Tony Stark was actually born as a woman. Her name was Natasha Stark, and she became Iron Woman. She was basically identical to Tony apart from her opposing gender and the fact that she had a romantic relationship with Steve Rogers. Speaking of Steve Rogers, in a what-if story, Marvel explored what the world would have been like if he had never been given the super soldier serum. Instead, the government moved forward with Project Iron Man, with Steve Rogers as the test subject for it. The armor was actually grafted to his body, which caused him a lot of pain, but he also helped the Allies win the war while wearing it. Weasel Willis was a minor character and a petty thief who snuck into Stark Industries and stole Tony Stark's briefcase. Little did he know it contained one of Stark's armors, which he proceeded to wear to carry out crimes. But he was ultimately defeated by Stark, who was wearing a more advanced version of his suit. In the Secret Wars 2099 miniseries, an alternate version of Iron Man was introduced, but it wasn't an alternate version of Tony Stark. It was Sonny Frisco, a genius inventor who suffered from a form of dwarfism, but who still wore a full-sized Iron Man suit. In the Invincible Iron Man Disassembled story arc, a Japanese business took over Stark Industries while Tony Stark was in a different universe. One of the business's directors, Rumiko Fukikawa, who was also Tony's love interest, was killed when minor villain Clarence Ward stole an Iron Man armor and went on the rampage in it. Peter Parker, Spider-Man himself, has also worn Stark tech in the form of the Iron Spider armor. While it isn't exactly an Iron Man armor, it has many of the same functions and the same color scheme, and Parker wears a version of it in Avengers Infinity War, which looks pretty awesome.
I'm Peter, by the way.
Doctor Strange.
Oh, using your made-up names. Then I am Spider-Man.
Speaking of Peter Parker, his on-again, off-again love interest Mary Jane Watson has been known to work at Stark Industries, which grants her immediate access to many of Tony Stark's suits. She once put on the Iron Spider suit, but she also once helped Spider-Man fight Morlun while wearing the traditional Iron Man armor. In the parody comic Shame Itself Volume 1, the Hacks of Vengeance story saw the Vision leading a team of geriatric Avengers who were actually the Avengers' grandparents into battle. One of them was Tony Stark's grandmother in an Iron Man suit. She was known as Iron Grandma. One of the last characters you would trust with an Iron Man armor is Deadpool, but Wade Wilson once knocked Tony Stark out with a bottle of fruity wine and stole his suit to take it on a joyride. While he was wearing it, he even managed to stop an armored truck robbery and saved a nuclear plant from exploding. Amalgam Comics was a joint venture between Marvel and DC in the 90s. The Amalgam stories saw Marvel and DC characters combining to form one amalgamated character. Hal Stark was a combination of Tony Stark and DC's Hal Jordan. The armor he wore gave him the powers of both Iron Man and the Green Lantern. In Iron Man 3, the Extremis-powered Eric Savin wore the Iron Patriot armor, which was built by Stark, but generally worn by James Rhodes, in order to infiltrate Air Force One and kidnap US President Matthew Ellis. When Savin showed up wearing it, he wasn't even questioned, but the president even commented that he felt safer with the Iron Patriot on board.
It is an honor, Mr. President.
We're also going to give an honorable mention to Aldrich Killian, because he's a little different to the other people on this list, as he certainly didn't wear the Iron Man armor voluntarily. In Iron Man 3, Tony Stark commanded his armor to assemble itself onto the villain, before triggering its built-in self-destruct mechanism, which actually didn't kill him, although he was killed by Pepper Potts in the end. And that's the end of our video. Did you enjoy it? Can you remember anyone else wearing Iron Man's armor? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Screen Rant for more great videos like this one. See you later!